Welcome, guys. All right, so it's a little past 2 o'clock, so I think we'll get started. We got a few more stragglers coming on now, but that's all right. So, what we're going to be talking about today, this is session 3 of 3. So this is the last session in our 3-part workshop. So hopefully, how many of you guys have been to the first workshop, the second workshop, or seen the first two? Just curious how many returning people we have from the previous webinars that we held. First two. Yep, this is the first one. Only first session. Yes. Okay, so a little bit of a mixture here. All right, no problem. Let's go ahead and start to dive into this. The first session, we talked about what's called the income machine framework or foundation. It's basically a synopsis or a foundational framework that you can use to build an online business. Everything that I've done over the past five years of developing products and marketing my products, I teach during the first session and second session. Second session, we talked all about email marketing, how to build your email list, how to create products really fast. That's what I've noticed. A lot of people have issues with creating products, or they don't really know where to start. So one of the things that I did was in the chat panel, you guys can get access to the replays. It's just digitalkickstart.com/income machine replay. So if you go in the chat box, you can go ahead and click on that link. And I recommend just bookmarking it for after the call so you can be focused for this call, and you can watch the first two sessions. And then we'll also have the replay for this session on that page as well a little bit later on today. So you'll be able to go back and see all of the content. This is some really good stuff, guys. It's some of my best content, and it's real, it's actionable. It's all stuff that I've done in the past that's worked, and we had a lot of great feedback from all of the people who attended the first two sessions. So I hope that you guys will enjoy this one. This is going to be all about scaling and growing your business. So it's a little bit more advanced. So it's probably going to speak more to people that already have an existing business in place, and they're looking to build in processes and systems and how to really grow your existing business. Now, if you don't have an existing online business, that's okay. I still think you're going to get a lot of value from this. I'm going to show you guys some tips on how to hire the right types of people, how to start building in those processes and systems from day one. So I think you're going to get a lot out of this. Okay. So the agenda for this workshop, I'm going to talk about how I was able to grow an 8-figure business and how I did it in what I call the smart way. And I'll explain that to you guys in just a little bit. How getting to $1 million in revenue on a bootstrap budget. I did not have any VCs or pile of money just sitting around for me waiting to spend on building a business. I did it all bootstrapped from the ground up, and how you guys can do it as well. How I turned $10 an hour into $250,000 the lazy way. So I'm going to be showing you guys some really cool stuff. I hope you guys enjoy it. Feel free to ask questions. I do have a few guys in the background answering questions. So if you do have any questions along the way, I'll be happy to answer them. I'll probably save the majority of the bulk Q&A for the end. All right. Now, I'd like to get a little bit of participation from you guys. I want to ask you 2 questions. Okay, the first one is, what percentage of your business are you currently outsourcing? Just a ballpark number, 0 out of 100%. If you guys wouldn't mind, just go ahead and chime in. I'll just wait a few seconds while they come in. I just want to kind of gauge the room here and see what is okay. 10%, 10%, 0, 100. Wow, 100? You got to teach me what you're doing. 0, 10, content. 0, none, 40%, 35, 30, 0, 0, 10, 30, 0. Okay, so it looks like the majority of you are doing at least a little bit of outsourcing. So 10 to 30% seems to be the range. There's about another 30% or so that are 0. So that's good. Okay, I think so. If you're outsourcing a little bit, I think that's really good. And I think you're going to get a lot out of this call just because I'm going to show you guys. I've been outsourcing for years. We have a team of probably about 25 now, 25 or 30, and they're all virtual workers. If any of you guys don't know my story, I work out of a home office, but we have people from all over the world. So we've hired from, my God, almost every country you can think of. And I can tell you all the pros and cons of hiring in certain countries and the types of people that you want to hire. So I think you guys are going to get a lot out of that. Okay. The other question I wanted to ask, if you guys can go ahead and put in the chat box, is what are some of the biggest challenges you've had from growing your business? If you guys wouldn't mind, just go ahead and throw that in the chat box. What challenges you're having from growing your business? What kind of obstacles, problems are you running into? That'll help me just kind of frame this conversation and hopefully make sure that the content that I'm presenting you guys is relevant for you. Okay. All right. Let's see. Prioritizing time, bad emails, not having enough income to move more quickly. Okay. Finding new clients, time management, list building, shiny object. Yeah. Okay. Not enough money to expand fast, finding good resources to outsource work to, having the right operational procedures written out, okay, how to hire a VA smartly, okay, time and accountability, I need a VA to set up the technology, okay, getting others to follow through. Yeah, right, if we could only get everyone to follow through. Focusing on product and implementation cycles, knowing where to find outsourcers, okay? Reliability and outsourcers, okay? Great, all great questions, guys. Sales versus branding. I get sidetracked by family drama. Okay, lots of good stuff in here. I'm gonna try to cover all of those problems, pain points that you have. If I don't successfully do that during the end at the Q&A, let me know, and I'll be happy to dive in a little bit deeper. So thank you for participating in that. Okay, so as you guys know, there's only 24 hours in a day, so you can only do so much, right? And even if you work there's going to be a threshold for everyone where there's only so many hours that you want to work where you're not going to just pull your hair out of your head, or it's going to deter you from even wanting to be your own boss, right? So it's important to understand what types of tasks that you can outsource, okay? So there's only 24 hours in a day. There's customer service, there's marketing, there's product creation, there's design, development, fulfillment, accounting, and then what I like to call the daily BS, right? Just the daily bullshit that nobody wants to deal with, and it just eats up your day, okay? So there's two paths that you can take, right? There's two paths. The one path on the left is go down the VC route, right? Get some venture capital funding, find someone that's got a big wallet and say, hey, here's my business proposal, here's my plan, or here's how much my business is currently making. I think if you invest, $100,000, half or $1 million, whatever it may be, I will be able to return a profit on that, right? And so you can do it that way. And obviously, when you have the capital, it's really easy to hire outsource workers or start an office with staff, right? I mean, that's the easier route to go. I personally didn't go down that route. I kind of went, which I feel is the harder route. I didn't mind working a little bit harder and building from the ground up and generating revenue and then reinvesting it into my business. So that's kind of the other path, which is bootstrapping your business. Now, there's no right or wrong way to go about doing it, right? I mean, there are some of the largest businesses in the world. They have investors, right? And at some point, you may want to get an investor to accelerate the growth of your business, right? And now I'm not going to go through that right now. I actually just had a call for about an hour and a half today with an investor, someone who's potentially interested in investing in our business. And so we actually got a lot of really good, it was a great conversation. And I actually may bring him on for a podcast interview just because he had a lot of knowledge. And it's always great to see if you are down the road looking to exit your business, what are investors looking for, right? Making sure that you're building that business so that it is, that investors are saying, hey, there's a certain criteria that investors look at to know if they want to invest, if it's a smart investment for them or not. Okay, and that should be something that you kind of think about in the background, right? If you were to remove yourself from your business, would the business still run? Would it still be profitable, right? To me, if you run a business and then you remove yourself and the revenue streams stop, that's not really a business. That's more of a job where you're putting in your hours, right? Whether you work for yourself or not, you're putting in hours and you're getting some sort of return. But once you stop putting in those hours, then the return stops, right? Or and so that's part of what we're going to be talking about today is how you can build systems and processes in place so that the machine is always running and you're generating ways of revenue for your business. Okay. So I kind of broke it up into different phases, I guess you could say. And so when I first started, I really didn't have, again, I didn't have a lot of capital to invest into hiring a staff. And so I started off really, really small, and I only hired people that were things that I needed that were eating up my time, right? Like, so I needed someone to help with support, okay? Because I'd create a product and then I would get a lot of people asking questions, and so I would hire a virtual assistant to answer support. Or I needed a developer. Now, there's a few different ways to hire a developer. You can hire them full time. You can hire them on a contract basis. You can hire them hourly. There's no right or wrong way to do it. But when I first started, I had a fixed budget. And so when I found a developer to create specifically a piece of software, I said, hey, well, here's my budget. Can you work inside of the budget, right? And so sometimes if you're looking to control costs, that's the best way to go about it. Whereas if you're hiring them hourly or full time and you don't have enough full time work, there can be a lot of excess money that you're spending on your developer or whoever it may be. Okay. So I started off really, really small and only hired on a contract basis for what I needed done. Okay. Now, as things started to progress in my business, right, one of the things that I leaned on a lot were partners. Okay. And this is what I would recommend everyone do is find someone that they can partner with and leverage each other's assets, leverage each other's skills, and it helps take some of the burden off of you. So, and I talked about this during the first session, was being kind of the one man band, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of people on this call. Feel free to just say yes if you're kind of a one man band where you're trying to do everything yourself, right? And I fell to this. I was doing this, and you'll notice that when you're trying to do everything yourself, things just move extremely slow. Okay. And if you have a partner, getting tons of yeses. Yes, with two part-time. Yeah. So yeah, with two part-time jobs. Yeah. So when you have a partner, obviously it splits up the roles and responsibilities between you and your partner, right? And same thing with investing capital, right? You guys can split the cost there. So I have found if I can find like-minded people in my industry to partner with, that's going to be a good thing. Now, what I did, if you guys don't know my story, I started partnering with people that had a product already created, and I was the marketing end of that, which I helped to create the sales funnel. I helped with bringing on affiliate partners, and I started to grow and generate revenue that way. So the good thing for me was I didn't have a ton of overhead. I didn't have a lot of expenses because I was really just managing my time and being able to create sales funnels. And I had a designer that was working with me part-time and a copywriter and a customer support person. And so I found other partners who complemented me, and I suggest you do something similar, right? You know what you're good at, so it's important to either partner with someone, or if you have the capital and you want to keep all of the profits yourself, then you can go and invest into a staff. Now, that was kind of phase 2 of my career, if you will. And then there was a kind of a second part of phase 2, which was really just scaling out what I was doing. So, I would have a partner for one project, and then I would find another partner for another project, and I would start to balance these different projects out. And so I would have maybe 3 or 4 different projects going at one time. And these projects, some were short-term projects that maybe would take a month or two to complete. Maybe another one took 6 months. And so I started to balance out short-term and long-term projects. And I started to build up my network of different developers, different designers. And I always tried to balance short-term with long-term growth. Okay. And we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second. Now, phase three was once I started to have some systems in place and I started to generate revenue. That's when I started to reinvest into my own team, and I started to remove partners. Because obviously, when you have a partner, generally, you're working together and you're splitting the profits, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? But if you can keep 100% of the profits and you know what you're doing and you can invest those profits into a team that's working for you, that's when you can start to see more revenue in your pocket, right? So I basically took that concept, just cut out the partner once I was able to invest into a team. And so I would have one, person that handled support, one person that handled development, another person that handled design and copy and those types of things. And sometimes, depending on if I had enough work, if I was balancing enough projects, then I was able to hire someone full time. If I wasn't, then I would work with them on a contract basis. And so that, depending on the project that you're working on, I can't really necessarily tell you, oh, you need to hire someone full time or you need to hire someone on a contract basis. If you want, we could go through some scenarios a little bit later on. Okay. And so phase four was kind of where I am today, where it's me and then I have, I have a team of developers. And so, this is more of a corporate structure, if you will, where you have a lead developer that's managing your development team, or you have a lead designer that manages, two or three designers, or we have a lead support agent manager that manages all of the agents, right? So what you really need to be thinking about whenever you're going to start to outsource is what are your overall goals, okay? And it's different for everybody. Everyone has different goals of why they want to outsource. Sometimes it's not even a business related thing. They just want to have some more time so that they can spend with their family, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But everyone's goals are a little bit different, okay? Now, the one thing that I would like to bring up is that if you're going to outsource because you want to be lazy, that's hopefully that's pretty obvious to you guys that you're going to have a failed business or it's not going to do what you hopefully intend it to do. So I hope that you guys, when you do go to outsource, it's not because you want to go and play video games or just sit around and watch movies all day long, right? The main goal is to open up your day, right? Open up your day so you can focus on business growth and development and the aspects of your business that can drive revenue, okay? Now, of course, like I said before, enjoying personal things is great. Now, it was probably up until maybe a year and a half or 2 years, probably a year and a half ago, was when I was really able to enjoy the fruits of my labor and really have things fully automated to the point where I could go on a vacation, spend time with my family, and I know that things are still progressing, things are still getting done in my business, and it's not going to blow up if I turn off the computer for a few days or go away for 5 days or 7 days or whatever it is, and if I come back, I know things are being taken care of. It's not like support's not being handled or development completely stops. And so again, it's something that you need to think about. What are your overall goals? Okay. Now, there's two different mentalities that I kind of think of in terms of outsourcing. There's the white collar mentality and the blue collar mentality, right? The blue collar mentality is kind of that, continue working really, really hard and working more hours in a day, and that will churn a higher profit, right? So if you worked say you worked 30 hours in a week, and you were able to generate $100,000 that year, and that whole year you're working 30 hours a week and you made $100,000, right? And then you're like, well, if I can make $100,000 working 30 hours, why not work 40 hours or 50 hours and generate $250,000 in that year, or half a million, or whatever it may be? But the problem there is that you're going to hit a limit, right? You're going to hit a limit as you're either going to burn yourself out with working too many hours, or you're going to get to the point where you're working so much that you're not able to scale it because you're the one that's putting in the hours. And if you stop working those hours, or you're not able to clone yourself, I wish you could do that, right? So the white collar mentality is by working not necessarily less hours, okay, but revenue growth is still going up, okay? And that's done through outsourcing, okay? And getting people to handle a lot of the day-to-day operations while you can focus more on strategy, okay? So this is a really simple exercise that I think everybody should do if you've never done it before, and that is what's eating up your day. Are you spending all day on Skype, on Twitter, on Facebook, on the phone, and really writing down the processes of what you're doing every single day, right? Understanding what you're good at and what you're not good at. Okay, I can tell you right now, I'm not a developer, I'm not a designer. I try to create logos, and a logo design that would take a designer 20 minutes to half hour to design could take me all day, and I could spend 8 hours just trying to get a logo created. When in the grand scheme of things, yeah, logo and branding, that's important. But I mean, right now, especially when you're just starting out, we don't have multi-million dollar budgets to go and spend on branding a logo, right? So get the logo created and bang it out. Whatever, you can redo it later. Start. Your goal should be profit, right? Focusing on revenue and generating a profit. So understanding what you're good at and maximizing that. Okay, so what you're not good at, and this is more important, that's the stuff that you need to outsource, right? Or and so there's there's a difference between an outsource worker and a partner, right? A partner, whenever I partner with someone, and some of you guys know Matt Callan, he's my partner, I guess you could say my primary partner in the digital Kickstart business. I wanted to work with someone that complemented me very well and that was good at the things that I was not good at. And so, we were partners on a few small projects, and we just worked really, really well together. And he was kind of, I wanted, we just worked well together. So that's when we became long-term partners, right? An outsource worker is more of someone that, you're hiring, you're paying for their time to complete something, right? Now, another question is, do you even know for sure what you're good at and what you're bad at? Have you actually, written this stuff down, right? Have you actually thought about what is taking up your entire day? So this is really just a 3-day exercise that you can do. Very, very simple to do. You just need a pad and pen, and just start writing down what you're doing, right? Write down everything. Now, I'm not saying, if you go to the bathroom for a minute and then come back, write that down, but write up the things that are eating up your day. Are you checking your email and spending 2 hours a day just inside of email? Or are you sitting in your support desk answering support tickets all day long, right? Record how long each of the tasks are taking, okay? And what I do is I separate them between non-revenue versus revenue-related tasks. So which tasks that you're spending a lot of your time doing that are not bringing in revenue. Now, when I say a revenue-related task, I'm talking about things like writing up an email that you're going to send out as a promotion to your list, or creating a product or program, creating videos, or creating a PDF that you're going to end up selling as a product in your business, right? So those to me are revenue related tasks. Things that are non-revenue would be, just again, the daily BS, just answering miscellaneous emails or setting up accounts, and that kind of stuff that can easily go and be outsourced. Okay, so after you've done this, and I say do it for 3 days, that's a pretty good sample size. Figure out what's eating up your day. Okay, and the goal here is to stop working in your business, okay? Stop working in your business. Remove yourself as much as you can from the day-to-day operations, the day-to-day time-consuming tasks. Now, one thing I'll just say right now is that you're never going to fully get away from it. You're never going to get away from things that are just going to eat up your day, that you don't necessarily want to do, that are just time-consuming things that just need to get done, right? I don't think you could fully ever get away from that as being an entrepreneur. The closer you can get to that with outsourcing that, I think the better. Okay, where you can fully focus on strategy and growth, right? But just try to remove yourself as much as possible from the day-to-day operations. Okay, remove distractions. I mean, I don't know, everyone's a little bit different, but in terms of my office, everything is very clean and organized, and I'm very anal when it comes to organization and ensuring I have all of my ducks in a row. So I remove all distractions. I mean, my desk literally has nothing on it besides a keyboard, a mouse, and a notepad. And that notepad just has everything that I need to get done, usually during that week. So every Monday, or actually what I like to do is every Sunday night, the day before, I like to wake up and well, the day before on like a Sunday night, I like to write out everything that I want to accomplish that week, and I'll prioritize certain things. So certain things that I want to get done right away, I'll start working on Monday and Tuesday. I'll figure out who I need to bring in terms of designers, developers, whatever it may be. I'll fire off emails to them on Sunday night. So, hey, first thing Monday morning, everyone's hitting the ground running. I have a list of things that I need to get done, and then I'll update that task list every day. Like usually at the end of the day, or at nighttime when I have a little bit of downtime, I'll update it. So then every morning I'm not waking up and I'm sitting at my computer or whatever and you don't really know what to do, right? Every morning you should have that task list and just start hitting the ground running. Okay. So, like I was saying, what we're trying to do is focus on or working on your business, not in it. And like I was saying, strategy and business development. Okay, focus on those revenue related tasks and automate as much as you can. Now, there's lots of great tools out there, and we'll go through a bunch of the different tools and software that I use in my business, and a lot of other entrepreneurs use, and a lot of them are great, right? For just automating processes and systems to help take out the manual work. Okay. Now, what I would strongly recommend everybody do is outsource as little or as much as you can right now. Okay. After you've done that exercise and figured out what's eating up your day, try to find at a minimum just one virtual assistant. And I'll show you guys how you can find people to work for you for as little as $3 an hour. Okay. And there's great virtual assistants out in the Philippines that have great educations. A lot of people in the Philippines are well educated. They have great communicational skills. They're very organized. They're very loyal. And so there's no reason why you can't have at least at a minimum just one virtual assistant, whether they're working for you 5 hours a week and scales up to a full-time 40-hour work week. There's no reason why you can't outsource at least a little bit of whatever's eating up your time. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of questions, guys, coming up. I'll try to answer a lot of those as we go through here. So to me, this is the biggest impact you can make, is getting yourself out of that mindset of, oh, okay, I got to do everything, right? That the whole one-man band syndrome where you got to do it all, right? And unless you do it, it's not going to get done, right? You need to rely on people in your business, okay? And I know that's easier said than done, but you can always start small and work your way up, okay? Now let's talk about, I see a whole bunch of questions of people asking, how do I find qualified outsource workers? And we'll go ahead and talk about that here in a second. And I'll talk, someone's asking about a project management tool. We've used a bunch of different ones. I'll show you the ones that we use right now and why we use them, okay? All right, so there's lots of different outsourcing sites out there, okay? Odesk, which is now called Upwork.com. That is the primary place that we go for finding outsource workers. We go to Upwork.com. And we've had a lot of success there. We've hired all different types of people. We've hired developers, designers, support. We just found a content manager, content and social media manager from Upwork. But there's lots of other places that you can go. Freelancer has a lot of good developers. A lot of tech people are in freelance. So if you need an IT person or a programmer, Freelancer is very good. Elance is also a good site. Elance is really good for marketing, content creation, that type of stuff. Okay. Now there's also what are called crowdsourcing sites. These are great places to look, like 99designs.com. If you want a logo created, you could have all these people create logos for you, and you only pay for the one that you like, right? And so the designer whose logo you chose, you only pay that person. And you could have 30, 40, 50 different people submitting logos instead of going out hiring one person, and you're stuck with whatever that person's going to create for you. So crowdsourcing websites are a great idea. There's Design Crowd, 99 Designs is probably the most popular one. CrowdSpring, Microburst, there's lots of different ones out there. And for all different types of tasks that you need, like if you need a video intro, or a logo animation, or whatever. There's lots of different crowdsourcing sites, and that's the pros to using something like this is you can get lots of different people collaborating, well, not collaborating, but submitting their designs or their work, and you only pay for the one that you like. Okay. Job boards, another great place. I mean, there's job boards all over the place. What I normally do if I'm going to use a job board, I try to find a niche related job board. So a really good example of a niche related job board would be ProBlogger.net. If any of you guys have been a ProBlogger, they have a job board that's specific to blogging and content writers. So if I'm ever looking for a blogger or content writer specifically, I may go on that job board and submit it there because their audience at ProBlogger is all for bloggers and content writers. So it's much more qualified, and you'll get a lot of good solid people. Okay, same thing. There's so just Google, go into Google, put in your keyword and job board. So if you're looking for a designer, web designer job board, developer job board, right? So you can look at job boards. You can reverse engineer quality software and design. So one of the things, the first piece of software that I created was called List Eruption, version 1.0. And I didn't know any designers, I didn't know any developers, but there was a software called Pop-Up Domination. And if any of you guys have heard of it, it's been around for years now, I think five or 6 years. And it was a WordPress plugin, and I used it myself. I bought it, and I loved it. I loved the look of it. I loved how it functioned. It was very simplistic. And so I went and I found out who developed that product. And so I contacted the development firm and I said, hey, I loved your work with Pop-Up Domination. I have an idea for a piece of software. Would you be interested in developing it? And they said yes. Now, looking back on it, I paid too much to have it designed or developed. But you don't know what you don't know, right? And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this webinar for you guys, was to help you be more educated. Okay, and we could talk about, I could talk about outsourcing software all day long because that's what I do all day, every day. But there's pros and cons to going out hiring a development firm as opposed to hiring a contractor. And we can talk about that here in a little bit. But the moral of the story there is that I just reverse engineered who created that software. Now you could do the same thing with website design. Sometimes they have their link right in the footer. It says, designed by so and so, and it usually links over to their portfolio. Or you could go and try to find the creator of that product or that website and say, hey, I was just curious. I don't know if they're a full-time person on your staff or if you outsourced your web design. I really like the look and feel of it. Would you mind letting me know who the contact was? I mean, I get people like that all the time asking me who designs our stuff. I mean, unfortunately, we've brought everything in-house now, but there was a while where I was saying, oh yeah, we use this guy for this video and we use this guy for this logo. Go hit him up. We just contracted him out. He did great work, right? And so that brings me to the last one, which is referrals. I mean, which is my favorite, right? If I can find someone that I've worked with in the past, like a partner or someone, they're like, oh, hey, this developer, he did an awesome job for me. I unfortunately just don't have enough full-time work for him. Give him a call or shoot him an email and connect with him and see if he has any openings for jobs. So referrals are my favorite still. So I would recommend first going out and contacting people in your industry and start there, because that, it's just like, hey, I need to hire a roofer for my house. Well, I noticed John down the street just had his roof repaired. Let me go ask him. Did that roofing company do a good job? How was their pricing? So you're going to rely, or you're going to have more emphasis on the people that you could have relationships with that can give you referrals, right? Now, let's talk about where you can find qualified outsourcers. I see a lot of you guys asking where, so we'll talk about that. Okay. Now, the first place that you can go, okay, is Virtual Staff Finder. If you guys know who Chris Ducker is, he's an outsourcing expert, and he has a service called virtualstafffinder.com. And they actually help you. They work with you to find qualified outsourcers. So this is a little bit more of a hand-holding service where they're going to help you. If you have never outsourced before, this is a great service, and Chris is a great guy, and he knows what he's talking about. and he has a team. I forgot. I mean, at least last time I spoke to him, he had like over 100 people that he could fit into whatever role that you needed. Okay, so that's a great resource to check out. And he also specializes mainly in Filipino workers, and I hire from all over the world. The Philippines is a great place. It's a great place to outsource, and it's relatively inexpensive as well. So let's talk about where to find qualified outsourcers. Let me see if I. Okay, yeah. All right, so it depends on what. Now, there are different parts of the world that are just better at certain, aspects in an online business. So whether it's development, design, and support. Okay. And I'll talk about the pros and cons based on my, 5 or 6 years of experience of hiring people from all over the world. Okay. The Philippines is a great place for finding people that have great communication skills. They're very well educated, and specifically marketing related tasks do very well with in the Philippines. Okay. Now I have a designer from the Philippines. I have a developer in the Philippines. So it's not to say that you can't go out and find other roles. And so I love hiring from the Philippines. Okay. I found it hard to find a lot of good developers because we hire so many developers. If I could, I would hire as many as I could from there just because they're very loyal. They're I mean, very few and far between find a Filipino who does not follow through with what is expected of him. Okay. They're very hardworking, dedicated workers. Okay. Now you can generally find. I have a slide. I'll talk about pricing in a little bit. Okay. Now Eastern Europe. Okay. So I'm talking Russia, Armenia, Romania, Ukraine, all of those places. There's a lot of talented developers there. Okay. So if you're looking for a programmer, I'm talking, web developers, desktop, mobile app developers, lots of great people there. Now, the only issue that I've had with people from Eastern Europe is their communication skills. Okay, 9 times out of 10, especially English. Okay, English I'm talking about. 9 times out of 10, their verbal skills are not going to be very good. Okay, it's going to be very hard to hold a conversation with them. Now, their typing skills are usually a little bit better. Okay. Now I have a bunch of people in Eastern Europe, and the majority of the time I just type with them. Okay. As long as I have good communication with typing with them and they understand it that way, then I'm okay with not really having to talk to them on the phone for that particular role. Okay. Now it depends on the role that you're going to have. Obviously, if you need to talk to these people on the phone a lot, they need to have good communication skills. And that's the number one thing, guys, that you guys need to realize is communication has to be there, right? If you are having an issue explaining what you're trying to do or what their role is, and and sometimes I'll just ask them. I'll explain it to them, and I'll say, hey, in your own words, can you just tell me back what I just told you? All right, just very simple. And if they're way off, or if they're like, oh, I understand, and that's it, that's a red flag. Okay, you want to have people asking questions. Okay, if they're asking questions, that means that they're interested and they're understanding what you're saying. So the people that I talk to that I'm potentially going to hire, if they're not asking any questions at all and they're just saying yes, I can do it, yes, I can do it, generally those people are just looking to get the job. They just want your money. Okay, they're not actually interested in what the job is and what it entails. And if you hire those types of people, you're usually it's going to fail. Okay. Now, people, so Eastern Europe is generally for development. Okay, again, these are all general rules, guys. So in like the Middle East, like Pakistan, India, I found are good for support. Okay, I've had a really hard time finding good developers. There's a lot of cheap, very inexpensive developers in India. Okay, and I'm not trying to stereotype an entire country, but a lot of them, they say yes to anything, because they want the job, right? Regardless of whatever what your product or service is going to do, they're going to say, oh, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. Okay. And so I'm very leery about anyone, regardless of where I go and hire these people. If they're always saying, yes, I can do it, that that's a red flag for me. Okay. I want to find out what they're not good at. And if they say that they're not good at anything, then that's a problem. Okay. Because I want to maximize what their strengths are. Okay. And so that's another good question to be asking them is what do you feel are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Give me a scale between 0 and 10. Okay. On certain aspects of whatever the job entails. Okay. In the US, I found content writers, again, just because it's their native language, content, social media, project managers, upper level people. Like if you need partners, if you need you need accountants to help manage your finances, all that kind of stuff. I have found the U.S. to be the best. Now, obviously, in the U.S., you're going to pay the most. The U.S., Australia, some places in Europe like France and other places like that, Ireland. You're going to pay a little bit more. So it's all relative to the cost of living in each country, right? In the Philippines, you can get you could have a dinner for 4 people for $20, for $15-20, right? That's like $5 a head. Whereas in the US, a dinner for 4 could be $80, could be $100, right? So it's all so to live in the Philippines, you don't need to make as much, and that's why you can hire people for $3, $4, $5 an hour. Okay. Right. Okay. Now, some things to be cautious of, and I've kind of mentioned some of them. I talked about the yes syndrome. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can do that. Very, very careful with anybody that just says yes, 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 yes. Okay. You want to know what they're not good at. Can they say no to something? Okay. That's a good thing. Okay. Feedback and ratings can be misleading. So when you're on places like Upwork, now, I mean, I've had people, and this is crazy. I mean, this is a little extreme, but I've had people try to hold the code. Like I hire a developer, and he'll hold the code hostage. He won't even deliver it to me until I give him a positive rating, which he did a terrible job with the project. It got done, but it took 10 times as long, and I would never hire him again. And a lot of these outsource workers know that they live and die by their ratings. People are looking at the ratings like, oh, look, he's got 5 stars, every single time. Well, the reason that is because they do things like that. Okay. Now, with that being said, if you're going to be doing any type of work like design work, development work, you need to make sure that you have control of the source code. Okay. You have control of their work. Okay. Make sure that they're uploading their work very often, right? Development, we tell them every few days, right? If it's design work, once you finish this page, send me the source, send me the PSD, right? So make sure that you are in control, because you never know. Okay. With outsourcing, you can get burned. It happens. Believe me, even the most experienced people that outsource work, even I mean, I've gotten burned many times. Okay. I don't get burned as much as I used to because I've learned a lot from the years, but you need to make sure that you are in control of that code. Okay. And if they're ever leery about that, where they're like, well, I don't want to do that, I'm going to keep it on my local machine or my server, I would not hire that person. Okay. Straight up. I wouldn't hire them. And by law, when you're paying someone for work, even if you have a contract or not, you are entitled to that work that you are paying for. Okay. If a developer says, hey, this is my code, I coded it, as long as you're paying for that work, then you own the rights to that code, just so you guys know. Now, I would recommend having some sort of a written agreement, okay, in place that says, hey, any work that you do for me, we reserve the right to we own the code. We can do whatever we want with it. Okay. That way you're not going to get bit later on. Okay. Okay. Another thing to be cautious of is how many jobs do they currently have? You'll sometimes get these people that are working 5, 10 different jobs, and they get overloaded, right? And they're spread too thin. And so one thing you can do, especially on Upwork, which is one of the reasons why I like Upwork, is they show you any jobs that are currently in progress. And so if I'm interviewing somebody, I'd be like, well, hey, I noticed you're working on 6 different things right now. How are you going to be able to focus on what I want you to do, right? Now, sometimes these are projects that are, only just the bottom line is get to the bottom of this, right? Okay, hey, I noticed this project. You're only working 2 hours a month on it. Okay, great, that's not a big deal. Or, oh, you forgot to close out these other projects that have been sitting there. If you can just go ahead and do that, that way I know that you're only going to be working, with me or maybe one other person, right? So just be careful about when you hire someone that has lots of jobs. Sometimes they're just trying to take as many jobs as they can, and that means the quality of work and time is going to suffer. Anyone who's asking for a lot up front, I'd be very cautious of, especially if you've never worked with them. But to the same token, if the roles are reversed, right, they're cautious as well. I mean, there's companies that will burn outsource workers, so they want to have at least something up front. Now, if you use Upwork, that they facilitate that for you, so you can set up milestones for the work that's being done, and then once you can deposit the money, it's kind of held in escrow, and then you can release the funds once milestone A is met, and once milestone B is met, then you release more. So you can drip it out, and that makes everyone a little bit more secure, and so you don't have to be too cautious about going and spending $2,000, $5,000 up front to somebody for a deposit that they say, and then you never hear from them again. Okay. So let's talk about how to speed things up in terms of the outsourcing process. Okay. Like I said before, the number one factor is good communication. If you have any, and use your gut, or have that gut feeling where it's like, I don't know. He's not really understanding what I'm saying, or vice versa. I can't understand what he's saying. Move on, right? There's other people that you can interview. Another thing that I always do in all of my job postings, I always say must have great English communication skills. Okay, so when they're reading it, and so hopefully that kind of weeds out some of the people that don't have good communication skills, right? Find an expert that you know and trust. So if you find someone that does a really good job for you, try to find ways to continue working with them. Now, I know sometimes that's really hard. You get put in this awkward situation where it's like, oh man, he's doing a really good job for me, but I just don't have enough work for him. And obviously he needs to eat and live. And so he's going to go out and find other work. So the faster you can go and find someone that you can hire full time and they're devoted strictly to you, I would strongly recommend doing it. Okay. Now, explain what type of virtual employee you're looking for. What specific questions, job skills do they need? Okay. These should all be just normal things in your job description, right? Talk about what you want. Okay, I want someone with great English verbal skills. I need someone with great written skills. I need someone that has at least 3 to 5 years of PHP skills, and I need examples of an application that you've created that's relevant to the project that you're working on. The more specific you can be with your questions and your job descriptions and skills, the more qualified the applicants are going to be. Okay, when it's very broad and general, that's when you start getting anyone and everyone that's going to apply, and it just makes it so much harder to sift through it. Okay. Split test people, okay? Just like you split test landing pages, split test different people. And so one of the things when we just hired a social media and content manager, we put an email out to our list. We said, hey, this is who we're looking for. Here are the qualifications. If you feel that you're qualified, send an email into our support desk with examples. And so what we did was we split test 4 different people, and we gave them little tasks, little jobs, and we said, okay, here, go and write a blog post, write a social media update, and write up some podcast questions that we could use for an interview for this person. Okay, so we just gave them kind of a beta run, a trial, and we got back the contents of what we asked them. Who did it on time? Who did it ahead of time, right? Ahead of schedule? Who did the best the best work, right? And choose whoever did the best, right? So there's no reason why you can't go and hire a few different people on a beta, test, if you will, or a quick, hire them for a week or 2 weeks and just see how things work out. So if you could hire multiple people, it speeds things up because you're not hiring one person and then you're waiting, a week or two, and it's like, okay, that didn't really work. Okay, I gotta go out and find someone else. Nah, that person didn't really work. Okay, let me go out and find someone else, right? Instead of spending months through that process, hire a whole bunch of people if you can, have them do something small and get a quick sample size and see, okay, hey, this person did an excellent job. They went above and beyond, and I'm going to hire them. Right? Again, start with a small task. How long does it take for them to do it? Did they accomplish the task correctly and completely? Okay. If they're asking questions, that's a good thing, right? Asking lots of questions means they want to do it right the first time. You don't want them to say, "Oh yeah, I got it, I got it." And whenever I say, "Do you have any questions about this?" and they say no, that's a concern. Okay. Another thing is who thinks outside the box, right? Sometimes we'll ask people on an interview, okay, now that you know what we're trying to accomplish, how would you improve on this? How would you do something to improve on the quality, the efficiency, whatever it may be? People who can think outside the box are generally much better employees, right? Unfortunately, there's a lot of people, and especially when you're hiring for developers, they do literally everything that you tell them. If you don't tell them something, they're not going to do it, right? A lot of people just can't think on their feet. They can't think on their own, and they literally follow every single instruction to a T and don't really think outside the box. So if you can find those types of people that can, that's going to help you. Okay. Now, another thing is don't throw anyone to the wolves, right? Don't try to get them to do too much at one time, okay? Um, don't or ensure that they have some sort of training on your business systems and processes, right? And now one of the things that I have done, I have a whole back end area where it shows it's just kind of like an ongoing diary of what's going on in our business. What types of business systems do we have, processes, standards do we have? And it's broken out and categorized by each type of different person that we hire. So if we have a developer that comes on, we say, here, go and watch some of these videos and documentation and go and really understand some of our, how we do things, how we structure code, how do we back up files, all that kind of stuff, or whatever it is that's related to the job. And then say, hey, we'll come back and ask me any questions once you've gone through that training. So the more materials and training you can give them, the better they're going to do, right? So provide documentation, provide examples, right? For this social media person that we just hired, we showed all different types of examples of blogs that we liked and Facebook fan pages that did a really good job. So arm them with the tools that they need to do their job properly, okay? Video walkthroughs, PDF walkthroughs, quick reference sheets, anything like that. Record how you do the tasks. So maybe go and do it once yourself if you can do it yourself, and then say, okay, well, here's how I do it. By all means, you can do it how I do it, or maybe there's a certain way that you could do it that could be improved on. Okay, and you can use something called Jing, Jing, which can help to create quick screenshots and screen captures, and then you can send it off to your outsource workers. Okay, and we'll talk about tools here in a second. All right, let's talk about how much you should be paying them. Okay, there's a difference between part-time and full-time. If you hire someone full-time, generally you can they're less expensive because you are guaranteeing them full-time work, right? And we always say that, hey, okay, I noticed your hourly rate was $20 an hour. If we hire you full-time and we give you 40 hours a week, is there some flexibility there? Okay. What their position is within your business is going to reflect how much you're going to pay them. Obviously, their experience, if they're brand new, if they've never done this before, you're probably not going to pay them as much. If someone has 5-10 years of experience, you're going to pay them more. Where they live, like we talked about, there's different cost of livings in different countries. So depending on where they live. Okay. Now the part-time versus full-time. Now, there's pros and cons to it, right? The full-time workers can deliver more predictability and consistent results, okay? Because you know that they're working full-time for you. Whereas if it's part-time, they may be juggling a few different projects, and there may be something that's, halts development or whatever it is that you have them doing because they're juggling a few different projects, okay? Like I said, you can get better pricing with full-time. Full-time gives more accountability to the employees, right? Because they're working only for you. If they're not accountable, if they're not doing what is asked of them, then you can fire them. And that means they're going to have to go out and find a new job. If they're working part-time and they're not as accountable per se because they have other jobs that they can fall back on, and there's still that source of income for them. Okay. Um, Part-time also allows for gradual scaling. So that's one of the pros where you could say, okay, hey, I'm going to start you off at 10 hours and we'll see how things go. And based on, the revenue that's coming into the business and how well they're working, you can start to scale that up. Okay. And part-time can also let you hire for specific experts that you need for a task, right? If you need, and we deal with this all the time in development, we need a image magic expert who knows how to customize, that particular functionality within an application. So we'll hire them for a specific task and role, right? Full-time outsourcers, this is kind of a salary guide, if you will. Again, take this with a grain of salt, but this is just what I've noticed over the years. Okay. General virtual assistants. Let me just grab a sip of water. Okay. General virtual assistants, around $400 to $750 a month. Okay. You're talking, you can get them as low as $3 an hour. Okay. I usually hire a virtual assistant for $5 to $7, right? That's something that you're just going to need to feel out. And if they're doing a good job, you could always say, and we do this a lot of times, we'll say, hey, we're going to start you off at $5 an hour. If you meet all expectations and things are going well and you're doing a great job, after the first month or after 90 days or whatever it may be, we'll bump you up to $7 an hour. Okay. So make them earn their pay. Okay. Article, content writers. This actually has probably increased a little bit. $300 to $600 a month is a little low. Now, it depends on what type of content they're creating for you, right? If you guys are trying to create content for SEO purposes, you're trying to build backlinks, generally that type of content is not, it's more designed for search engines than it is for your audience, whereas opposed to a blog post or an email swipe copy or a sales page, that type of person, that could go for anywhere between $800 and $1,500 a month. Okay, so it just depends on the quality of the content and what type of content they're writing. Okay, for someone who's like an SEO expert, that person usually has some technical knowledge in terms of how to change meta tags and how to add internal link structures. And so SEO people are generally more technically savvy, and so you're going to pay them a little bit more, something like $600 to $800 a month. Also, people who do link building, that would kind of fall in that category as well. Web developers, around $600 to $1,400 a month. Now, I will say this, that since my company has grown, and any company that starts to grow, you're probably going to want to start paying your developers more money. Okay, especially if you're going to be doing software, right? Same thing with designers, because you can find full-time developers for $600 to $1,400 a month. Okay, you can, but to me, the best developers who have good experience, where they can think on their own, you're going to pay $1,400 to $2,500 a month. Okay, so we generally pay anywhere between $15 and $20 an hour for a web developer. Okay. Again, it's not to say that you can't go and find someone for $600 a month. You can, but you get what you pay for. Okay. And always remember that you're only as good as the people that you employ, and you want to surround yourself around smart, like-minded people. And so one of the areas that we have really placed more of our dollars into, our investment into, are developers, designers, and then our content people. Okay. Whoops. Graphic designers, $500 to $1,000 a month. Now, if you're saying, hey, I just want a sales page designed, you could probably find someone for $300 to $500 one time to design a sales page for you, right? It just depends. Now, also remember, some graphic designers are not coders, right? Like coding HTML and CSS. So you may need to go and find someone to do that. And generally, if you just need a PSD, like a Photoshop file, coded, you could find someone for $5 to $7 an hour. Okay. HTML, CSS is very basic. There's a lot of people out there that can do it. Okay. Audio and video people, $500 to $1,200 a month, just depending on what you have them doing. A lot of our video sales letters that we've had designed from professional video people, and usually if you're talking like a 5 to 7 minute video with maybe some animation to it, animation usually can help to bump up the cost. Okay. That can cost, $1,200, $1,500 for, say, a 5 to 7 minute animation type video, right? If you're doing more of a generic VSL, not to plug Easy VSL, but you could use Easy VSL, which is going to create a nice slideshow presentation where you can sync your voice, right? Mobile app developers are actually usually very expensive, especially the good ones. And that number has kind of gone up. I think it's probably between $1,000 and $2,000 or $1,000 and $3,000 per month for a solid mobile app developer. The reason that they cost more is because there's not as many of them. Okay, it's a very specific developer, and there's just not as many out there. Okay? When you're looking for PHP developers, which most code nowadays is in PHP. And there's great frameworks that PHP developers can use when they're coding an app. There's a lot more of them out there, right? So the cost tends to go down. Okay. How and when do I pay them? Usually every 2 weeks. I do every 2 weeks on Fridays. Okay. You can do every month if you want to. I have a few guys on my team that I just pay every month. The first of the month, I pay them for the previous months, right? So that's kind of up to you, but every week, or usually every 2 weeks is best, especially with an outsourced staff. Some of these guys we pay via wire, we pay them through Zoom, we pay them through PayPal. So it's just kind of a pain in the butt when we do payroll to do it every week. So we do it every 2 weeks. Okay. Now there's lots of different solutions out there. Zoom.com is phenomenal. That's probably my favorite processor for processing payroll. Okay. Zoom is not in every country. It's great for the Philippines and India. Yeah, in India. But I think there's maybe 10 or 12 different countries they cater to. You can sometimes send a transfer with 0 fees, and it can be delivered that day directly into their checking account, which is awesome. Okay. Now the cons to Zoom is that they don't cater to every country. Okay. So PayPal is another good solution. Low fees, right? Unfortunately, some outsource workers don't have PayPal. You can do a wire transfer in Western Union, or another one is Skrill. Let me go ahead and, I'm not going to add it, but Skrill is another one where the outsource worker gets a Skrill account. You send money through to their email address, and the fees are relatively low. Okay. If you do a bank transfer or Western Union, you're probably going to pay anywhere between $10 and $25 per transfer, okay, depending on how much you're paying them. But I always try to do Zoom, PayPal, or Skrill. Now, depending on who your bank is, sometimes you can get, so like I have a relationship with Bank of America where we do enough business with them where they give me, I think, like 3 to 5 wire transfers for free every single month. So instead of paying $25 for the wire transfer, they waive those fees for the first, I think, 3 each month. Okay. So you could always ask your bank what type of deals they may have for wire transfers, and if you have a business account. Okay. Now we can talk about some business and productivity tools. For email, calendar, docs, we use Google Apps. Okay, it's $5 a month for the business accounts, and it's a great way to sync everybody on your calendar. I have 3 or 4 different email addresses that come into my Gmail account, and then we also use Google Docs. Okay, so we use the suite of Google Apps. For storing passwords, we use something called LastPass, so you don't have to go in and say, oh, what's the password? It's already stored on your browser's toolbar, and you don't have to remember it. Okay, and it's free. For bookmarks, because I'm virtual, I have a few different computers. I can sync all of my bookmarks between my different computers, and we just use Xmarks for that. It's just a free Firefox and Chrome extension. For larger files, we like to use Dropbox and Google Drive, which are free to a certain point. I think you get like 5 gigs for free, and then you have to start paying for more, and it's very, very inexpensive. But it's a great way to put all of your files on the cloud and share your files that you need to with other people in your company. Okay. For notes, we use Evernote, free solution. I love Evernote. Whenever I come across something that I like, I'll pop it into Evernote. Never know when I'm going to need it. I can search for it later on. Accounting, we use FreshBooks. We actually, if you're going to manage your accounting yourself, we recommend FreshBooks. It's like $19 a month, or it's even, it may even be less than that now. But when you get to a certain point when accounting starts taking up a lot of your time, you're going to want to hire an accountant. Okay, and that's what we do now. We just have our accountant reconcile everything each month. Okay. Support desk, we use Freshdesk. It's a great solution. That can start to get costly though, especially if you have a lot of agents. So you usually pay per agent per month, and it's a great support desk. There's other ones out there like Zendesk is another one, desk.com, but we love Freshdesk. There's a lot of really cool functionality built in to help save us time and money. For doing screenshots and screencasts, we use Jing, which is free. For time tracking, and now this is a big one here, guys, we use Hubstaff. And if any of you guys are interested, I know the owner of Hubstaff, and I could probably get you guys a discount if you want to email our support. It's just support@digitalkickstart.com. Just say, hey, I know you mentioned Hubstaff. This is great because what it does is it's very much like Upwork. If you guys have used Upwork or freelance.com, you know how they do all the tracking for you, where they take screenshots of their work and they track how long they've been working on your project. Well, this does the same thing, and I don't have to go and pay 10% to Upwork every single month or every single pay period, right? And once you start to really scale out your business, and when you have 20, 30, 40 employees working for you, that 10% can add up, right? To whatever your bottom line is as you start to scale. So we have a solution. We use a solution called Hubstaff, and it's a little lightweight desktop application. They install it on their computer, and it takes screenshots every 5 or 10 minutes. And unfortunately, we've had people that have tried to, track hours for work that they're not doing, and we've unfortunately had to fire people. But we have that level of accountability now with Hubstaff, and it's not, unfortunately, back in the day when I used to work for a marketing agency, we had the CEO decided to install a time tracking solution on all of our computers, and now we were coming into the office every day. Now, I personally wouldn't do that if I had an office where everyone's there. To me, that kind of hurts morale in the workplace. But if you're a virtual staff and you have people all over the world, you need to have some sort of checks and balances, right? And so this allows us to have those checks and balances and making sure that they're only tracking time for the work that they're working for you. Okay. Wunderlist is another good one for to-do lists. If you just want to create to-do lists, I use that a little bit, but I actually like having a notepad right next to me on my desk for my to-do. So I guess it's just personal preference. We use MindMeister for mind mappings. So whenever we mind map a sales funnel, a business process, we'll mind map it using MindMeister, which I believe is free, or they have premium accounts, but I think you can use it for free. Mockflow, whenever we wireframe a piece of software or a website, or we always wireframe it first. So we just kind of put together the bare bones of what it's going to look like. And that helps when we hire a designer to design it and make it look pretty, they can kind of understand what we're looking to do. And you can use Mockflow for that. It's free. It's a really nice wireframing tool. TeamViewer is great for desktop sharing. So if you can also use Skype. We use Skype for that. So our main communication with our team is through Skype. Whenever we need to chat, do phone calls, do screen shares, we'll usually do that through Skype. Project management, we use Basecamp. Now, we are starting to use a project management tool called Jira. It's Jira. And that is really good for software projects. Okay, the way that they've set up Jira is it was just basically meant for developers, and going through that whole phase of your to-dos, your bugs, your issues, your feature requests, your QA, all that kind of stuff. So we use Jira for our software. We use Basecamp for just general day-to-day project management stuff. So we actually use 2 different project management tools right now. This is just kind of a timeline showing you guys kind of over the years how I've scaled in terms of how I've hired. Back in 2012 when I kind of first got started in creating products and starting my own business, I started slow with just hiring a general virtual assistant, hired a developer on contract work, and as you can see over the years, as I started generating more revenue, I obviously started bringing on more staff to help with the overall day-to-day operations. Okay. Now, one thing I'm gonna answer your questions here in just a few seconds, guys. So, now that I've kind of gone through, if hopefully you guys have been able to watch all three parts of this workshop, I know that running an online business, there's always more to it than just the time that I've spent with you guys during these three workshops. Obviously, I hope that you guys got a lot out of it, but I have a workshop that I'm going to be doing from February 2nd to March 17. It's called the Seller Kickstart Workshop. Now, I have only done this workshop one time. I did it at the end of 2014, and we only allowed 300 entrepreneurs, marketers to join this. The reason that I limited it to 300 people was because I wanted to keep it a small group that I could answer your questions. Now, like when we do these live calls, there's could be hundreds or close to 1,000 people on, and it's harder for me to answer all of the questions. So I've created this 6-week Seller Kickstart workshop. Now, the reason I created it was because I don't want you guys to make the same mistakes that I made, right? Now, I've tried to give you some good content in these 3 sessions, but there's obviously a lot more that goes into it. Okay, so now if you don't have a real system or process, and I didn't when I first started. I kind of learned as I went on. I tested a lot. I failed a lot. I wasted tens of thousands of dollars to get to where I am today. I didn't really have a coach to help me. And God, if I had a coach from day one that taught me the things that I've put into the Seller Kickstart workshop, I would be light years ahead. Okay. And so starting on February 2nd, so that's going to be in about a week now, it's going to be 6 weeks until March 17th. Okay. Now, I will warn you, okay, this program is not for everybody. Okay. I'm only looking for the most passionate, driven students who are really ready to hit the ground running, who are action takers, who are motivated, and who want to dramatically improve their business, right? Now, we're going to be talking about basic strategies. We're also going to be talking about advanced strategies. So it doesn't matter if you are brand new to running your own online business, or if you've been running your own business for a few years, 3 to 5 years, whatever it may be. I'm going to show you guys some strategies to help to hopefully double your whatever it is that you're generating right now. Okay. And so I have blocked out 6 weeks that I'm fully 100% committed to you guys. Okay. My schedule is, I keep it very, very booked. Okay. I like to stay busy. I like to be working on a lot of different projects. I've opened up my time to be 100% committed to you guys for 6 weeks. Okay. Now, it's going to be a one-time payment. Okay. Now, like I said before, we did our first workshop. We had 300 people that took action, that were part of the workshop. Then we closed it down. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I've discounted it $500. Okay. I've extended it 50 more spots. So for the first 100 people that we've already let into this program, we offered a one-time payment of $997. Okay, you guys are I've extended that for 50 more spots, so you guys are going to be able to get access to this course, and I'm going to show you guys in just a second everything that you're going to get, specifically down to every single week of what content you're going to get. We're going to be doing live sessions. We're going to be doing Q&A. You're going to connect with me on Skype, so you're going to have a direct communication with me. Okay, so I'll talk about everything that's going to be included in Seller Kickstart. Now, all you need to do is go to sellerkickstart.com/join. Okay, sellerkickstart.com/join. I believe that is in the chat box as well. It'll take you to the checkout page. You just pay one time, and you're going to get access to me and the workshop for 6 weeks. Okay, for 6 weeks. And after these 50 spots are taken up, it's going to go up to $1497. Okay, so it's a one-time payment, and again, this is going to be a small workshop, guys. I don't want a lot of people on this because I want to really work with you guys during these live sessions that we're going to be doing. Okay. Now, once you get into the workshop, okay, after you've paid. You can use a credit card, you can use PayPal, whatever you want. You're going to go to this page. Okay, it's going to say, congratulations, you're registered for the 6-week Seller Kickstart workshop. The first thing I want you to do is add me on Skype. Okay, I've been adding everyone that's already inside of the Seller Kickstart workshop has been adding me, and now we're connected on Skype. I can answer your questions on there, and that's kind of your direct communication with me. Okay. You'll also be able to join my private 6-figure mastermind Facebook group, where we have other like-minded people, and we have hundreds of people in there that have joined from other programs that we've allowed, but it's private. Okay, so these are a lot of other great entrepreneurs and like-minded internet marketers, and we can have discussions there as well. And I go in there. If you ever have questions, you can pop them into our Facebook group, and I'll answer those questions. Okay. Now we also have a support team that you guys are going to get priority access to. Whenever you have a question about the training materials or about a webinar that we hold, you can ask your question in our support desk, and we have people there that will help answer your questions. Okay. Now, let me break down what's included in inside the workshop. Okay, the first is there's going to be 12 live workshop sessions. Okay, it's 6 weeks. Now, February 2nd to March 17th is that's actually 7 weeks. There's going to be 1 week that we're not going to have training, because I'm going to be at Traffic and Conversion Summit in San Diego, which is in 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. If any of you guys are going to Traffic and Conversion Summit, I'd love to. I may just do like a dinner or something, or we'll have some drinks. We'll meet in person. I'd love to meet you guys in person. So anyone who's going to Traffic and Conversion Summit in a few weeks in San Diego, let me know, and I'd love to meet you guys. Okay, so that's just going to be one of the weeks, and that's why it's 7 weeks instead of 6. All right, so there's going to be 12 live workshops. We're going to be doing 2 live sessions every single week. Okay, so this is when you can get on, and I'll answer your questions, and we're also going to be going through all of the content inside of the workshop. And then there's also foundational video training. Okay, you're going to get access to all the materials at once, but I want you guys to really try to follow every single week. Okay, and so go through the first week's content, and then make sure that you're on the 2 live sessions for that week. Okay, and do that for 6 weeks. Okay, I don't want you guys to get overloaded with all of the different content. Okay. You're also going to be getting access to what I call my money getting bonuses. I'll explain what the bonuses are in just a second. You're going to get access to the private Facebook group, and then you're also going to get priority access to me. Okay. Which to me, I mean, time is money. I usually charge $1,000 an hour for anyone that wants to do one-on-one coaching. And so you guys are going to be able to get access to me. So that, to me, that's where a lot of the value is, besides all of the foundational training. Okay. Now, we're also going to do some what I call on-the-fly training. So during each week, as questions are being asked, whether it's in the support desk, whether it's in Skype, whether it's on the Facebook group, I'll create training videos, and I'll pop them into the Seller Kickstart workshop for everyone to get their for the entire group to benefit, right? So all of your questions will get answered, and everybody will be able to see those questions, because I'm sure a lot of the questions I can see right now, a lot of questions being asked in the chat panel, those are questions that are being asked a lot, right? And so I'm going to go and I'll create videos, and so everyone can benefit from them. Okay, so we're going to do on the fly training every single week as those questions come up. Okay. Here's just a quick overview of each of the different sessions and what we're going to be covering each week. Okay, the first week is what I call the foundation, which is going to be all about business processes. I'll talk about everything from, things you need to know from an accounting standpoint. God, I mean, I wish, I mean, how many of you guys, I'm not sure if, the first year in your business, you're just trying to figure out how to, make it a profitable business, but there's certain things that you need to know about and plan for, when you start to make money, right? Like how to plan for money that you're going to need to pay the state or the government, or how to ensure that you're reconciling your your money and all that kind of stuff. So there's all different types of things that we're going to be talking about during the foundation. Week number 2 is about market research. So any of you that are saying, well, I don't really know what industry to go into, or I don't know what people want, what kind of product should I create? I'm going to show you guys some really cool tactics and things that you can do to know. Normally, 99% of the time when you create a product, that there already is demand for that product that you want to create. Okay, there's nothing worse, and I can tell you from experience, there's nothing worse than creating a product, putting all this time and effort into it, and you're not really sure, is it going to do well? Is it not going to do well? Or, and then all of a sudden it flops, right? So I'm going to show you guys some really cool things that you can do to perform research and ensure that the product that you create is something that people are going to want. Week number 3, we're going to talk all about product creation. This is my favorite week because I love to create. I love creating, and we're going to talk about software. We're going to talk about training programs. I'm going to show you guys, I'll do a whole session probably just on software. I'll talk about, what type of servers you want to use, what type of software you want to create for depending on what type of software, depending on what you want the software to do, whether you should create a desktop application, whether you should create a web application, whether you should create a plugin. We'll talk about all that kind of stuff. For training programs, we'll talk about, what type of membership software you should use, how to shoot your videos. We'll talk about equipment that we use for creating videos, for creating audio, for doing podcasts, for doing screen captures. We'll go through all that kind of stuff during the 3rd week. The 4th week, we're going to talk about marketing funnels and optimization. So I'll show you guys how to build out marketing funnels. I'm going to show you guys how, if someone pays you $27 for a product, I'm going to show you how you can get another $27 out of them. So if you create a product and that product has generated $100,000, I'm going to show you how you can at least get another $100,000 out of that funnel. Okay. I'm going to show you all sorts of really cool optimization tweaks. Okay. Week 5, I'm going to talk about how to market your products, how to promote your products. We'll talk about how to get in contact with affiliate partners. We'll talk about paid advertising. We'll talk about, there's how to drive traffic to your offers. I know that's probably the biggest question that I've seen so far, is how to drive traffic. So week 5 is all about marketing and traffic. Okay. Week 6, we're going to talk about scaling. We talked about some of that during today. It's only been, an hour and a half. There's going to be a lot more that I'm going to expand on during week 6. So this is really going to be how you can add another 0 or 2 zeros to your bottom line. Okay. So that's what week 6 is about. So again, guys, sellerkickstart.com/join is how you can join. It's a one-time payment. It's not, paying, it's not an ongoing fee. It's only a one-time payment, and you're going to get access to all 6 weeks. Okay. Now, I'm also going to be adding in a bonus, but it's a fast action bonus, meaning that you need to invest into Seller Kickstart today on this live call to get this bonus. So it's going to be 1 free hour of one-on-one coaching with me. Okay. Like I said, when I do one-on-one coaching, I charge $1,000, okay, per hour. Okay. So you're going to get 1 free hour of one-on-one coaching where I'll be happy to go through anything that you want to talk about, whether it's your business model or the products that you have, your sales funnels, anything like that. Okay. So again, you must join before the end of this webinar. So go ahead and put in your name and that, hey, I'm in the chat box, so we can see who has joined, and we'll be able to see obviously on the back end of our platform to see who's joined. But again, this fast action bonus is going to go away at the end. Okay. We have tons of testimonials, guys, from the first 300 students. I will tell you this, that our refund rate was next to 0. We had 300 people join and 1 person refund, and that was because they had some personal things going on in their life. Okay, which I understand that happens from time to time. And so we do have a 30-day. For this program, the 6 week, we have a 6-week money back guarantee, meaning you could go through the entire workshop. Okay, you could even get the 1 hour of free coaching by me. Okay, and if for whatever reason you feel that you're not getting what you want out of it, you can get 100% of your money back. Okay, I don't want to take your money if you feel that I haven't provided value to you. Like I said before, we did this workshop one other time. I had 1 person refund, and so I will ask you though, if you do want a refund, I'm going to want to know what exactly you expected that you did not get out of it. Okay, so I will ask you that. Okay, because I did have a few people say that on the first workshop, and I was able to work with them and make sure that they got all of their questions answered. And again, you're going to get what you want out of it. Okay, the more you put into this, guys, the more you're going to get out of it. Okay, if you're taking action, if you're attending webinars, you're asking questions, you're leveraging the ability to talk to me on Skype and our support desk, you're going to get more out of this than you've probably ever had in any other program that you have ever taken, a part of. Okay. So here's a few quick testimonials from some of the students that joined last in 2014. Mark's Seller Kickstart course has been not only great information, it's been actionable, even from someone like me who doesn't have a background in marketing. The way he the way he teaches makes concepts easy to understand and apply to my business. As an added bonus, he's personally available for questions, and so you're never left wondering, how could I apply what he's teaching to my industry? Just ask him. Okay, and that's true. Like I said, guys, I'm available to answer questions in multiple different formats. Okay, whether it's on Skype or whether it's on the webinars or in the support desk. Okay. Justin said, I've been marketing online for quite some time, and I'll say, hands down, I've never been through an online training class as comprehensive as Mark's Seller Kickstart. Not only that, but Mark is one of those guys who cares about his clients and that they get what he's teaching. I've spent thousands on broken promises and out-of-date strategies. Mark opens up his business to show what he's doing, something I know most don't do. There's no doubt of the value, but also the extra 6 or 7 figures this will add to my business by just applying 1/10 of what he shares. And that's true, guys. I mean, I really do try to be as transparent as possible in my business and show you guys, hey, this is what is working in my business. Here's what's not working. And I love talking about the failures almost as much as the successes, because I've learned so much from those failures. And those failures alone, if I can stop you guys from doing them and making those mistakes, that's going to save you time and money, right? Elon says, good to meet everyone. I'm enjoying this live webinar with Mark right now. Sorry for the typos. I literally did copy and paste these, so they were truly authentic. He is answering all my questions. I'm very happy about my product creation future. I intend to launch my big ticket product next month. And yeah, she launched her high ticket product and it was super successful. You're my inspiration. Your coaching changed my life. After a long struggle, finished my first product, made it as high quality, super awesome product. Feeling grateful to you, sir. Wish me luck. Don't want to bother you. Just wanted to know that I've been going through all the videos and the live calls for the weeks again, and just want you to know how much I appreciate you and what you're doing for this course. With this course for us. I honestly wish I could go back and pay you all the money I've spent with so-called gurus who didn't care about really providing what guys like me need to succeed in the industry. Thanks again, Mark, and I look forward to our call at the beginning of the week. Okay. Now, like I said before, guys, if you're not completely satisfied with the 6-week workshop, you pay nothing. Okay. So you can go through all the training, you can go through all the workshops, you can take advantage of the 1-hour session with me, and you can get your money back, right? I mean, if only you could go to, pay for a year's worth of college, and after that year worth of college, you're like, I really didn't get anything out of it. If the college would refund you their money back, right? If they would only allow that. So I'm really taking 100% of the risk. Now, I am also going to offer you guys a 3-time payment plan. So you can break this up into 3 payments. Okay. If you go to sellerkickstart.com/3x. Okay. And I'll have that link get put in the chat panel. So if money is the issue, you can get started for $397. And you can break it out into 3 months. So every single month it'll charge you $397 for 3 months, right? So and this, if you take the 3x payment plan, you'll also still be able to gain access to the one-on-one 1-hour session with me. But you have to take action before the end of this live workshop. Okay, so that's sellerkickstart.com/join if you want to do the one-time payment, which you'll get a little bit of a discount, and sellerkickstart.com/3x to do the 3-time payment plan. Okay. Now, I do want to answer some questions. I see a whole bunch coming in. I know we've had some people behind the scenes answering those questions, some of your questions. So I'll go ahead and answer those questions right now. Let me go ahead and put that fast action bonus up there, and then the link as well. Okay. All right. So I'm going to answer as many questions as I can. Let me just grab a sip of water here. Okay. All right. Let me scroll through here. All right. Where have you found your best partners? Okay. Tim was asking that question. So I have found a lot of my best partners from people that I already work with in my industry. So I work with a lot of affiliates. So people who maybe create their own products or have their own email list and promote my products. And so, just from engaging with other people in the space, I've gotten a feel for people who, have similar values, have similar goals. And those are the people that I always like to end up working with, or people that I know of. I have worked with other people where, um, you know, uh, we do maybe a product launch together, but generally those are just one-off product launches where someone will say, hey, I have this product and I'd love to get it out there. Would you mind launching it with me? Now, I don't really do that much anymore. We usually do everything in-house now. But when I was doing that before, usually it was just on a one-time basis. But for long-term partners that I have, these are people that I've worked with in the past for a long time and just had a really good rapport with. All right, let's see. Do you use any project management tool? Yeah, so I think I've already answered that one. We use Jira for software and then Basecamp. But yeah, you're asking about Trello, Podio. I've heard of those. I've never used them, but a lot of the most mainstream project management tools, they're all very similar. I will admit that Jira does a good job for software if you're looking to project manage software. Okay. What kind of contracts for outsourcers? Um, what do you mean, Stephen? What kind of contracts? So, like, what kind of contracts do I have them sign? I have them sign like an NDA and also a contract with some legal things. And actually, I think actually that's one of the bonuses that you guys get inside of Seller Kickstart. I provide you guys. Now, I'm not a lawyer, okay, but I did have a lawyer draft up some documents that you can use for your outsource workers. So you can have them sign it to help protect you. Okay. And I can tell you right now, that's probably the price of admission, just having access to those legal documents, because I paid thousands of dollars for them, and you guys are going to get access to them. How do you outsource and still protect your critical business information like back office stuff? Yeah, it's a really good question. So for the most part, for anything that's very sensitive, I don't give people access. Now, there are a few support agents. So I have my support manager, two of my support managers, they have access to my PayPal account. However, there's in the back end, there's a user management area in PayPal, and you can only give them access to certain things. So, like if I need them to process a refund or try to fight a dispute, that type of stuff, they have access to, but they can't go in there and start like drafting funds and putting it in other accounts. So, when it comes to critical business stuff, we try to use systems that give us some sort of permission access where we can manage that. Okay. Do you use Amazon Turk? I've used Amazon Turk. I don't anymore. If you need something done very, very quickly, and if you need it done a lot of times, Amazon Turk is really good, and you can get people to do things for a penny, for as low as a penny. But Amazon Turk, I have not had a lot of. I don't know. It just hasn't worked out for me that well. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Is there going to be a replay? Yeah, we're going to have. That link to the replay should already be in the chat panel. Do you prepay in full the outsourcers? No, never, 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 never. Okay, always break it up into milestones. Okay, if I'm doing a larger project, specifically software, we try to map out 5, 6 different milestones, and we do it based off of functionality. So, we'll say, hey, show me that X, Y, and Z is working. Once they show me that it's working, then I'll release a payment, and then they'll go and work on the next milestone, and then I'll release a payment. So you do it in steps. What are some of the video companies you outsource from? So actually so being a Seller Kickstart member, I give you guys preferred vendors. I give you my Rolodex of developers, designers, video people, all different types of contacts that you guys are going to get in there of preferred vendors that I have personally used that I recommend, and one of them being a video company. Okay. Are these US pay scale or offshore? These are offshore pricing. Now, again, those are ranges for you guys to go by. Okay, there's been exceptions to the rule, right? Now, if you're going to hire people in the U.S., you're going to have to pay, generally starting $40,000 a year. So if you break that down, you're talking, I don't know, like $2,500 to $3,000 a month, okay, depending on what they're doing. If you're talking about developers in the U.S., 60 to 80 grand is probably the average. Okay, so it just depends on what it is. For powerful slide creation, yeah, Prezi's a good one. Sure, Prezi's good. We just use PowerPoints or Keynote. We use Keynote because I use a Mac. So my question is, after I created my biz and products, how do I dominate traffic and conversion if I can't make San Diego Summit with Ryan Dice? To be honest with you, that's kind of a loaded question. How do I drive traffic? Because there's so many different ways to go about driving traffic. We're going to talk about, we spend an entire week solely on traffic. We'll talk about, paid ads. We'll talk about social. We'll talk about organic. We'll talk about your own internal email list. So unfortunately, it's such a loaded question. I can't really answer that here. It's going to be in a much better format, like inside of the workshop. Okay. Now, one thing I will tell you guys is, when I did this workshop the first time, I gauged the members and said, hey, like a lot of the guys wanted Amazon training, and I don't really do a lot of Amazon stuff. I've dabbled in it a little bit, but it's not my core business. And so I brought in Chris Guthrie, who is a full-time Amazon marketer, and I said, hey, would you mind doing a free training for my seller Kickstart workshop people. I did, people were asking, they wanted more in-depth on sales funnels. And so I brought in Todd Brown, who's probably one of the most sought after funnel experts around. And he charges, I think he charges like $1,000 an hour as well for private coaching. And because I have relationships and connections with certain people, I'm able to bring other people in that's maybe you wouldn't have the connections with, and that have specific expertise. So that's one of the things that we'll be talking about is, hey guys, what type of specific expertise or coaching or training do you want that you don't already have? If I'm not an expert in it, we'll go and find someone that is, and we'll do a workshop for you guys. Okay. Are you going to show us how to, let's see, hold on. Can my business partner join me in this program? Is there a payment plan? Generally the way that it's worked, it's been just for each person. If you have a business partner that's part of your entity, your business, that's okay. I'll allow it. Like if you want to do the one-on-one coaching call and have him present for that, that's okay. That's fine. The last thing I want to do is have this, though. Don't think of that as an open invitation to go and give this to 10 of your buddies. Okay, this is a private workshop for you guys. Okay. Anita, I see that you're in. Looking forward to talking to you, Mark. Awesome, Anita. Go ahead and add me on Skype after the after this call. Go ahead and add you back, and look forward to connecting with you. If I don't have the business yet, but want to build one to have my own digital products selling online and also sell your products, can I achieve it? Of course. This course is definitely for people who are newbies, or you have an existing business and you want to scale it. Okay. One of the reasons that I created this program was, for one, I wanted it to be evergreen. Okay. I wanted the fundamentals and the foundation of this training to be evergreen. So, there's always going to be new strategies and techniques and things like that are going to come up. But with stuff that I teach you guys, it's been working for years and it's going to continue working. Okay. It's evergreen. This content is not going to expire or not work. Right now, there may be some things that what's a good example? So like live streaming with Periscope and Meerkat, that's such a new technology that people are just starting to figure out how that kind of stuff works. And so that can be something that maybe we talk about. We're actually putting that into our roadmap of we're going to start doing some live streaming as well, and we can talk about that as we start to do it in our own business. What works and what doesn't work. All right. If we can use you, let's see. I'm not really sure what that question is. I just signed up. I'm a little concerned that the training will be too basic. I'm already earning 100K a month online and without a website, just creating products for me. I can tell you right now, we are going to be talking about some advanced strategies. I'll talk. A lot of that probably is going to happen when I talk about product creation, when I talk about building out your marketing funnels, when we talk about scaling your business. Also, depending on, we've learned a lot over the last year or so of how to position your business if you want to take it public or if you want to sell it to an investor. We're going to talk about that kind of stuff as well. So I'm very confident that we're going to be talking about we are going to be talking about advanced stuff, but in a way that's it's easy for everyone to understand. Okay. All right. You're welcome, Alan. Okay, guys. So I'm probably going to be wrapping things up in just a few minutes. I'll go ahead and take a few more questions. Like I said, the 1 hour free coaching call, the one-on-one coaching call, that is going to expire after this call. So now is your chance to jump in on that. And like I said, we're going to hit the ground running February 2nd. So that's going to be the first call. That's a Tuesday. We do all the sessions at 2 o'clock Eastern time. So the reason I did that was it was convenient for me to do them at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because people on the West Coast in the States, that's 11 o'clock your time, AM. For people that are in the UK, that's like 8 o'clock your time. So obviously there's going to be people from all over the world in this workshop, and it's not going to cater to everyone, but we will have all of the sessions recorded. If you can't make a live call, you still have the opportunity to ask follow-up questions afterwards through our support desk or through Skype. Okay. Again, it's sellerkickstart.com/join is the one-time payment. Sellerkickstart.com/3x is if you want to break it up into 3 payments. Okay. And okay, let me see if there's any other questions. Mark, I missed your comments about Amazon selling. I have a private label brand selling on there now. Please repeat what you've said about that and how this could help. So one thing is you're going to get the benefit of the Chris Guthrie replay that I did for the first workshop that I held. So you're going to get, I think that was like a 2-hour workshop that Chris did, and he's going to talk all about Amazon. We also have connections with like the Amazing Selling Machine guys, and if there's other people that you followed in your marketplace, let me know, and I can definitely reach out to them, and I can see about getting those guys. I can't make any promises right now, but I mean, if you tell me, hey, I think it'd be really beneficial if we could get this person on, or talk about some sort of topic, then I can go out and I can find 2 or 3 guys who have a lot of expertise in that particular field, whatever it is, and bring them on. Okay. How can I become a beta tester for you in the future? We actually keep that for the most part in-house. We have a process where we QA our apps, and we have our development team testing it. And then we usually also have a very small amount of affiliate partners that we work with. But I mean, feel free to email our support desk, and I can see what I can do about getting you on as a beta tester for some of our software. Can I find replays? I missed the webinar. Sure. It's in the chat panel. There should be a link to that page, and we'll also send out an email so everyone has a link to that. How to position a digital asset that you're wanting to build for the sole reason to sell to multi-millions. We'll talk all about that, guys. I'm going to talk about one of the things I talk about in the workshop is how to create products that will cater to a mass audience, and how you know that that the product that you do create, how you can ensure that your product is not too niche and that it does cater to mass appeal. And we always do that. There's a formula that we use, and I'll talk about that. Okay. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap things up. So again, just another few minutes to join and get the fast action bonus with the one-on-one coaching call. I'll go ahead and add me on Skype. And if you've invested into Seller Kickstart during this live session, I'll make sure that we schedule your one-on-one call, or we could even do it at the Traffic and Conversion Summit in person. If you guys are going to be around, I'd be more than happy to meet you there. Okay. I hope that you guys got a lot of great information. This is some of my best, some of my best stuff when it comes to scaling and outsourcing and building out processes and systems. We're going to be talking about that a lot more inside of the workshop. So I'm looking forward to everybody who joined and invested into the workshop. Again, February 2nd is when we're going to get started. Make sure that you contact me on Skype. And I hope that everybody has a good rest of the day. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.